The folded napkin wasn't torn, just sharp at the corners, like it had been refolded too many times. I kept pressing it flat against my knee, as if I could iron out what was sitting across from me. Her perfume hadn't changed. Neither had the way she avoided looking directly at me, but made sure to speak just loud enough for my dad to laugh. I hadn't spoken to her in almost 2 years. Thanksgiving, in my family, is never small. We're not a huge family by any means, but my dad's idea of a quiet dinner still involves at least a dozen people and 2 turkeys, 1 baked, 1 deep-fried, because he believes the method you use says something about your character. My brother, Drew, always swears by the fryer, says it's faster and tastier. I've always preferred the oven. It takes longer, but the skin crisps just right, and you don't have to babysit hot oil like a bomb waiting to go off. This year was supposed to be the first one I brought someone new. Supposed to be. But Claire and I ended that quietly in October. No cheating, no drama, just the slow bleed of 2 people becoming polite roommates. I didn't tell my parents right away, not out of fear, just inertia. The way people let laundry pile up because dealing with it feels heavier than wearing the same shirt again. Then came the email. Subject line, Thanksgiving at the house. Same time as always. The guest list was listed like a newsletter. Mom's side, Dad's golf buddy Jeff, cousin Tina, and her weird vegan boyfriend, plus Drew and his wife. No mention of Claire. I figured we were safe. I didn't RSVP. Just texted my dad. Yeah, I'll be there. No questions. No clarification. And then I walked into the house on Thursday at 2:12 p.m., half an hour late because I stopped at the liquor store for a bottle of wine, only to find Claire already there. I smelled her before I saw her. That citrus vanilla thing she wore from Lush. She used to call it her shield because it made her feel golden and hard to read. I remember that exact phrase because I once told her it made her smell like a cookie at a funeral. She laughed and kissed me and said, "That's the whole point." She was standing in the kitchen with a dish towel in one hand and a wine glass in the other, like she'd never left, like she belonged there. And my dad, my actual father, was laughing with her about some show they both liked, nodding like she was still his daughter-in-law, even though she never had been. I froze in the hallway. My mom spotted me first. "Oh, honey, finally! We were about to send Drew to track you down." She didn't seem surprised to see me frozen like that. Then again, my mom doesn't miss things. She just files them away for later, like receipts. Claire turned and gave me a smile that was just polite enough to be cruel. No teeth, just a small nod like we were co-workers passing in the break room. "Hey," she said. And my dad, my actual flesh-and-blood father, walked up and clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Look who made it. Claire said you might be late. We put you 2 side by side. Hope that's okay." He was smiling. Full-on, proud dad smile, like this was a prank he'd been waiting months to spring. I looked at him, then her, then the wine bottle sweating in my hand. "You put us where?" The dining room was set like a Norman Rockwell fever dream. Candlelight, mismatched napkins, and place cards written in my mom's shaky cursive. Next to mine, Claire. I didn't sit down right away. I put the wine on the counter, excused myself to the bathroom, and locked the door behind me. Not to cry, not to scream, just to breathe somewhere where the air didn't smell like cinnamon and my ex-girlfriend. My hands shook, not from anger, from confusion, because no one had told me. Not Drew, not Mom, not even Claire, who still had my number. I stared at myself in the mirror. Why is she here? Why didn't anyone tell me? Why the hell did Dad put her beside me? I knew he liked her, always had. Said she was grounded. Said I needed someone with her head on straight. But we broke up. Amicably, but clearly. I moved out. We divided the furniture. I kept the TV, she kept the sofa. We even split the dog, alternating weekends, like a bitter sitcom. But this was something else. When I came out, dinner had already started. People had their plates. Conversations were halfway down side streets about pumpkin pie spice and new medication and Drew's new promotion. No one noticed when I slipped into my seat, except Claire. She didn't look at me, but I caught her adjusting the silverware. Her thumb brushed the edge of the butter knife twice, a tic she used to do when she was nervous. We used to talk with our hands under the table, fingers laced, pinkies nudging. Now they just sat between us like cutlery ghosts. My dad raised a glass. To old traditions and new beginnings. Everyone clinked. I didn't drink. Claire whispered, just loud enough for only me to hear, "You okay?" I didn't respond. I made it 35 minutes before I broke. It was the cranberry sauce that did it. The homemade one, Claire's recipe. Whole cranberries, orange zest, a bit of clove. My mom never made it that way, never even liked it. But there it was, in a white ceramic bowl, the same one Claire and I picked out from that overpriced kitchen store in town. I cleared my throat. "Who made the sauce?" My dad beamed. "Claire did. I asked her to bring it. Nobody makes it like her." My fork paused mid-air. Claire didn't say anything. I looked around the table. Nobody else seemed fazed. Drew was too busy showing someone pictures of his kid on his phone. My mom was trying to cut a yam without toppling her wine glass. The room spun, just slightly. I put the fork down. "I need some air." I walked out the back door and onto the porch. The cold hit. Fast, November in Ohio doesn't care if you're having a breakdown. A few seconds later, I heard the door open behind me. Claire stepped out. "You're mad." She wasn't asking. I didn't look at her, just leaned on the railing, hands in pockets. "Why are you here?" She let out a slow breath. "Your dad invited me. Said it wouldn't be weird. Said it was just dinner." "And you believed him?" She shrugged. "I didn't say yes at first. Then he called again, said he missed me, said he had a new bottle of wine for us to try. And I don't know, I caved. I turned. "You didn't think to text me?" "I did," she said quietly. "Twice. Deleted both. Didn't know if it was better to warn you or just not show up." My jaw clenched. "You picked the worst possible option." She flinched, just barely. I didn't want to see her hurt. I didn't want to see her at all. And that's what made this so much worse. We stood in silence for a while. She pulled her coat tighter around herself. The porch light cast a long shadow between us. I thought about the time we hung those Christmas lights together, how she twisted them around the railing like a vine, humming under her breath. Now the railing was bare. "I'm not trying to get back with you," she said suddenly. "I know it's done." "Then why come?" "Because your dad made it feel like I still mattered." That landed hard. Not because it was manipulative, because it was true. I rubbed my face. "Do you?" She blinked. "What?" "Do you still matter?" To him, she looked down. "I think he misses what we were more than he misses me." "Yeah," I said. "That sounds like him." When we came back inside, dessert was already being served. My seat had a fresh slice of pie, untouched. Claire's was empty. She hadn't finished hers. Dad raised an eyebrow. "Everything good?" I nodded. Didn't trust myself to speak. He smiled like a man who thinks he's just fixed something. It was 5:26 p.m. when Claire finally left. I remember the clock on the microwave blinking green, one segment dimmer than the others. Everyone else was still laughing in the dining room, chewing pumpkin pie like nothing strange had happened. She grabbed her coat without asking where it was, didn't say goodbye to anyone but my mom. And my dad watched her walk out like he'd just seen the credits roll on his favorite movie. I stayed behind to help clean up, but what I really wanted was answers. Dad was still in the kitchen when I stepped in. He was drying a plate with one of those thin dish towels that never absorb anything. The room smelled like burnt sugar and leftover gravy. The pie crust crumbs on the counter looked like something clawed apart. "Need help?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. He smiled without looking at me. "Sure, grab the big Tupperware. We'll put the turkey in for your brother." I opened the cabinet, but my hands hesitated. It wasn't about turkey. I shut the door harder than I needed to. "Why did you invite her?" He paused, barely, but I noticed. "What do you mean?" he said casually. I turned. "Claire. You invited Claire and didn't tell me. And you sat her beside me like we were still… What, together? A team?" He finally set the plate down. His face dropped the smile like a mask that had been slipping all night. "I thought it'd be good for you." "You thought…" I let out a breath. "Dad, we broke up. Months ago." "You never said it was final." I stared at him. "So, because I didn't mail you a breakup certificate, you thought it was your place to ambush me with her at Thanksgiving?" He wiped his hands on the towel, then crossed his arms. "She didn't ambush you. She's part of the family. Just because you two couldn't make it work doesn't mean we all have to pretend she vanished." That hit something deep and ugly. "Dad, I'm your son." "And she's a good woman," he shot back, louder now. "Better than half the people Drew dated. Hell, better than most of the women I know. I wasn't going to just cut her off." "You didn't have to cut her off," I said, my voice tightening. "You just had to give me a heads up. That's it. One text, one line. So I could walk in knowing she'd be here, instead of getting gut-punched next to the cranberry sauce." He looked like he was about to argue again. Then he stopped. "You're right," he said after a beat. "I should have told you." We stood there in silence, the way men do when apology is the last tool in the drawer. I picked up a plate, rinsed it under lukewarm water. My fingers ached. "She said you called her twice," I added. "Said you told her you missed her." He didn't deny it. "I did," he said, "because I miss who you were when she was around." That line dug in deeper than he probably intended. Later that night, I sat in the guest room upstairs, staring at the ceiling fan. It clicked as it rotated. One blade was slightly bent, probably from that time I jumped and hit it as a kid. The bed was the same, the mattress somehow both too firm and too hollow. My phone buzzed. "Claire. Sorry again for today. I didn't mean to make it worse." I stared at it for a minute. Then another message came through. "Claire. Your dad really doesn't get it, does he?" That one made me smirk, just barely. I typed back, "He means well. But he has a funny way of showing it." No reply after that, just the quiet hum of the fan. The next morning, I found Mom already in the kitchen. She was in her robe, holding a coffee mug with a cracked handle she refused to throw out. She gave me a look before I could say anything. "You and your father argue last night?" I sat at the counter. "That obvious?" He had that look when he came upstairs, the one he gets when he's done something, boneheaded, but still thinks he's half right. I laughed. "So, every other weekend then?" She gave me a tight smile. "He's not great with boundaries, especially when he thinks he knows best." "Yeah," I said. "He thinks Claire can fix me." "She soothed you," she corrected gently. "Which is not the same." I looked at her. You knew she was coming, didn't you? She stirred her coffee. I didn't stop him. That was answer enough. I drove home in silence that afternoon. The highway was half empty. Overcast sky, leaves on the shoulder in patchy reds and yellows. I didn't turn on the radio. Just thought about how things sneak back in when you don't deal with them directly. When I got back to my apartment, I sat in the car for a few minutes. My place looked the same. Dim window, mailbox slightly open, the sticker peeling off the front door buzzer. I didn't know if I felt relief or loneliness. Probably both. 2 days later, my brother texted me a photo. It was Claire, with Dad, at a coffee shop, smiling. She had her hand over his on the table. Drew, wasn't she your ex? I stared at the image for a long time. Then I called my dad. He didn't answer. I didn't hear from him until Friday night. Voicemail. Hey son, wanted to say sorry again. I know things got weird. Just give me a call when you're free. Love you. He didn't mention Claire. I didn't call back. That Sunday, Claire reached out again. This time it wasn't a text. It was a voice memo. Her voice was quiet, slower than usual. Hey, I just wanted to clear the air. Your dad called me the day after Thanksgiving and invited me to lunch. I said yes because I thought it was just a check-in. I didn't know he'd make it a thing. I think he's lonely and maybe trying to keep something alive that's already gone. I'm not trying to be part of that. There was a pause. Then, you deserve your own peace. I won't be coming to Christmas. I listened to it twice, then deleted it, but I couldn't let it go. Not because I still loved her. That ship had sailed, and maybe sunk. But because the man who raised me, the man who always said, "You can tell me anything," had turned around and built a bridge back to the person I left behind, and crossed it without me. The following week, I showed up at my parents' place without calling. It was 10:14 a.m. on a Saturday. The house was quiet. My dad was out back, messing with the gutter. He looked surprised to see me. "Thought you were working weekends now," he said, stepping down from the ladder. I folded my arms. "Are you seeing her?" He didn't play dumb, didn't blink. "No," he said. "I'm not." "But you want to?" He looked past me at the backyard. "I want things to feel familiar again. That's not the same." "But you don't care how that makes me feel." He looked down. The wind tugged at his sleeves. "I didn't think it would be this bad," he said. "That's the problem. You never do." We sat on the porch for a while, not speaking. It wasn't a reconciliation. It was more like a ceasefire. "Just don't invite her again," I said finally. "Not unless you ask me first." He nodded. That was all I got, and maybe all I could ask for. A few days later, I got an unexpected letter in the mail. No return address. Inside, one photo, printed from a phone. It was from last year's Thanksgiving, me and Claire sitting at the same table. She was laughing. I was leaning in, smiling. My dad had snapped it from the end of the table, catching both of us mid-joke. On the back, in my dad's handwriting, "You were happiest then." I stared at it for a long time. Then I tore it in half. My dad's garage shelf still had the picture of me and Claire in that cheap wooden frame, the one we picked up on a road trip to Vermont when we thought kitschy souvenirs were romantic, not desperate. She was holding a cider in the photo, and I was grinning like a guy who thought everything was going to work out. That shelf also held a dented power drill, a cracked baseball glove, and 3 rolls of duct tape. I stared at the photo longer than I should have. It didn't match the way I felt now, not even close. I stopped going to my parents' house after that, not in a dramatic way, No "you're dead to me" blowout, no family text war. I just didn't. Didn't RSVP to Drew's birthday dinner. Didn't reply to my mom's casual "swing by if you're free Sunday" texts. I needed the space. Needed to stop stepping into rooms where ghosts sat beside me like guests with name cards. But avoidance only works until life doesn't let you hide anymore. And my dad, bless his stubbornness, decided to show up at my apartment 2 weeks before Christmas. I heard the knock before I saw the car. 3 short raps. The rhythm of someone who already feels justified for being there. I opened the door to see him holding 2 things, a coffee from the gas station and a folder. "Hey," he said. "Hey. Can I come in?" I hesitated, then stepped aside. He sat on the edge of the couch like a salesman who knew I didn't want to buy. Set the folder down on the table between us. "I want to explain." I nodded toward the folder. "What's that?" He slid it forward. "Pictures from old Thanksgivings. Thought maybe you could help me sort through them. Pick a few for Mom's photo wall." I didn't touch it. "I'm not ready to dive into nostalgia," I said. "I figured," he admitted. "But maybe looking at the past will help both of us figure out why this year went so wrong." We sat in silence for a few minutes. I sipped the coffee. It was lukewarm and bitter, just how he likes it. The room smelled faintly of pine-scented air freshener and dust. My radiator clanked twice before settling into its wheezing hum. "Look," he said eventually, "I know I made a mess. I didn't think about what it would do to you. I was thinking about how empty the house has felt. About how Claire used to make your mom laugh, how you used to be easier to talk to when she was around. She didn't fix me, Dad." "I know," he said, "but I miss the version of you that smiled." "That version wasn't real," I snapped. "I was covering a crack. We both were." He nodded slowly. Okay. Then he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. "Claire gave me this," he said. "Said it was something she wrote after Thanksgiving. She didn't want to send it to you directly." I stared at it. "You want me to read it?" "No," he said. "I want you to choose if you want to." That was new. Boundaries had never been his thing. Not with me. Not with anyone. I took the paper and set it on the coffee table. Didn't touch it again that day. The letter sat there for 2 more nights, mocking me. Every time I passed it on the way to the kitchen or the bathroom or the front door, I felt like I was walking past a grenade with the pin halfway out. I finally opened it at 11:47 p.m. on a Monday, sitting on my living room floor with a beer sweating in one hand and the envelope in the other. Claire's handwriting was the same, slanted, neat, with that little curl on every capital L. "Hey, I know this might not make anything better, maybe it'll make it worse, but I wanted to explain why I came that day. Your dad didn't just invite me. He insisted. He said you were drifting, that you weren't yourself. He said maybe seeing me would help. And maybe I let that be true because I miss the idea of us. Not us, the real people with the dirty laundry and the passive-aggressive silences. Just the Sunday mornings, the quiet dinners, the you that used to warm my feet under the covers without saying a word. But after Thanksgiving, it hit me. We're not those people anymore. We grew around a break, not through it. I'm not coming back. Not to your house. Not to your father's. Not to the past. But I hope you're okay. I hope you get angry, and then tired, and then free. You were never the villain. Just the boy who stopped being heard. Claire. I read it 3 times, then folded it again and shoved it in the junk drawer. Not to keep it safe, just to get it out of sight. I didn't respond. What was there to say? Thanks for reminding me I'm forgettable in my own family? Thanks for clarifying that your reappearance wasn't about me, but about my dad's sense of nostalgia. No. The past didn't need a response. It needed a conclusion. So I showed up at my parents' house the week before Christmas, not to make peace, to draw a line. The door was open when I got there. The scent of pine and clove hit me before I even crossed the threshold. My mom was hanging, garland around the fireplace. My dad was on the couch, thumbing through a box of ornaments. They both looked up like I'd walked in from war. "Hey, sweetheart," Mom said, cautiously hopeful. My dad just said, "Hey." I stepped in, jacket still on. "Just so we're clear," I said, "I'm only here to make something known." My dad straightened up. I continued, "If you ever invite her again without asking me, if you ever put me in that kind of position, we're done. Not a timeout, not a cold spell. I mean, done." He blinked. "I understand." "No, I don't think you do," I said, "because you used my pain to fill your silence, and you expected me to smile through it." "I thought you could handle it," he said quietly. "That's not the same as being okay with it." He looked down. My mom stayed quiet, her fingers tightening around a gold ribbon. I turned to leave, but Mom stopped me. "There's a card for you on the tree." I frowned. "Why?" "Claire dropped it off, a week ago, said it was just a goodbye." I almost laughed. "She doesn't quit, huh?" "No," Mom said softly. "But I think she finally let go." I took the card, didn't open it, just slipped it into my jacket and left. I didn't open that card either. It joined the letter in the junk drawer. And maybe one day I'll read it. Or maybe I won't. What mattered was this. It was my drawer, in my apartment. And for the first time since Thanksgiving, the only person who could open those memories was me. I spent Christmas with a friend from work, just the two of us, take-out Chinese, and a bottle of bourbon we drank too fast. No forced cheer, no awkward traditions, just quiet companionship and a shared understanding that sometimes family makes the holidays harder. We watched Die Hard on mute with subtitles just to see if it still hit the same. It did. 2 days later, my dad called. "I miss you," he said. "I know," I replied. "Are you okay?" I thought about it. "I'm getting there." She asked if I'd heard from you. My mom said it while untangling a ball of lights, like it wasn't a loaded sentence, like she hadn't just dug up the body I was trying to bury quietly. I stood there holding the box of ornaments, blinking at her. She didn't look up, just kept fiddling with green wires and tiny bulbs, trying to force normal into the air between us. But nothing about this was normal anymore. New Year's Day came and went like a paper cup in the wind. I didn't go back to my parents' house, didn't send a text, didn't ask how the party went. Drew sent me a photo of the spread, 3 kinds of wings, Dad's weirdly famous ham sliders, and a group selfie with everyone but me. Claire wasn't in it, and maybe that was the point. A small, petty signal that I could come back now, that the coast was clear. But I wasn't ready to pretend like nothing happened, because something had happened, and it didn't go away just because dessert was good. I started therapy in January, not because of Claire, not even because of my dad, because of the drawer. The one with her letter and her card and the version of me I didn't recognize anymore. I'd opened it to grab a pair of batteries and ended up just staring for 10 minutes, like the paper might catch fire if I looked hard enough. I needed to make sense of what I'd become, how I got so good at swallowing things until I forgot what they tasted like. My therapist was a guy named Mark, late 40s, wore a lot of navy sweaters, and drank chamomile tea like it was personality. "You talk like someone who's waiting for permission," he said in our second session. "Permission for what?" "To be mad, to want distance, to not owe everyone closure. By February, I had stopped checking my dad's texts, not out of spite, out of preservation. Every message was some version of, "Let's grab lunch," or "Want to help me with the snowblower," or "Found this article on boundary setting. Thought of you." He was trying. But trying doesn't unbreak things. Trying doesn't rewrite the part where he sat my ex beside me like a prop and waited for the performance to go right. Claire texted me once. February 13th. Just wanted to say I won't reach out again. Hope this year is lighter for you. I didn't reply. Not because I hated her. Not because I didn't appreciate the message. Because sometimes silence is the clearest boundary. In March, Mom called. She never calls unless someone's dead or in surgery. But this time, it was neither. "I think your father's been depressed," she said plainly. I was driving home from work. Hands at 10 and 2. Heat just starting to click in. "He's sleeping late. Not golfing. Barely leaves the house." I didn't answer right away. "You think I should fix that?" I finally said. "No," she said. "I think he needs to understand that he broke something." A week later, I got a letter. Real letter. Postmarked. My name handwritten on the envelope in blocky penmanship that belonged to one man and one man only. Inside was a page torn from a yellow legal pad. "Son, I've spent a lot of time thinking about how I hurt you, about why I did it. The truth is, I confused familiarity with belonging. Claire was familiar. She filled the air, made holidays feel the way they used to. But I forgot that she didn't belong there anymore, not in that way, and not without your consent. You are my son, and I made you feel replaceable. That's on me. I won't ask you to come back. I won't show up unannounced. This is me letting go of the illusion that I know best. I hope we can start over when you're ready. And if that day doesn't come, I'll still love you. Proudly, quietly, always." Dad. I read it twice. Then again, it wasn't perfect, but it was something. It didn't ask, it didn't push, it just owned it. And that made it louder than anything he'd said before. In April, I went to the house. No big announcement, no dramatic music. I knocked, and Mom opened the door with a quiet, "Oh." My dad was in the living room, on the recliner, eating pistachios with a paper towel in his lap like always. He looked up, blinked once, didn't move. I stepped in and said, "I'm not here to talk about her." He nodded. Understood. I sat on the opposite couch. We watched baseball for 37 minutes without a word. He tossed me a soda from the mini fridge. It was the first peace I'd felt in months. Things didn't go back to normal, but they started to rebuild. Slowly, grudgingly, like a porch repaired plank by plank after the storm. We didn't talk about Claire. We didn't pretend Thanksgiving didn't happen. But we also didn't tiptoe. We just lived in the reality we made and tried not to flinch when the floor creaked. By June, I'd thrown out the letter, Claire's, and the unopened card. Not because I hated her, not because I was mad, because I didn't need them anymore. They had served their purpose. Reminders that some stories don't need a sequel, just a proper ending. July brought something unexpected. A girl named Eliza from my building. We'd bumped into each other enough times at the mailbox that it stopped being small talk and started being coffee. Then walks. Then late-night playlists shared over texts. One night, she asked why I never brought up family. I told her the truth, as much as she needed to hear. She didn't press, just said, "Sounds like you finally stopped letting them write your chapters." My dad sent me a photo on my birthday, a slice of cake, a crooked happy birthday candle. Just the caption, "Hope your day's better than my frosting skills." It made me smile. And that felt like enough. Because healing doesn't come in fireworks. It comes in doorways left unlocked. In the soda someone remembers you like. In the silence that no longer feels like punishment. I used to think forgiveness meant pretending it didn't happen. Like if I smiled hard enough or changed the subject fast enough, the cracks would seal on their own. But now I know. It means remembering exactly what happened and choosing not to carry the weight of it every time you walk into the room. And today, for the first time in a long while, I walked into my parents' house without armor. It had been nearly a year since Thanksgiving. 11 months and change since I walked into that dining room and saw Claire sitting beside my name card like a placeholder for a life I no longer wanted. So much had changed since then, and not all at once. No grand awakenings, just small shifts, like gravity lightning in parts of my life where it used to pin me down. Dad had kept his promise. No surprise visits, no guilt texts, just slow, quiet effort, siding with boundaries for once, instead of stomping over them. We'd met for coffee once a month, nothing deep, just box scores and weather and how the mailman parks crooked. But in between the ordinary, there was a sense that something old and brittle had been swept away. Mom invited me to an early Thanksgiving dinner that year. She called it a reset. "Just us," she said. "No guests, no pressure." And I believed her, because somewhere between spring and fall, my family had stopped trying to recreate what we used to be, and started letting each of us become someone new. I brought Eliza, not as a statement, not to prove anything, just because she made me feel like I didn't have to rehearse who I was going to be in every room I entered. She asked twice if I was sure. I was. We parked across the street. The house looked the same brick steps, same wreath, but it felt smaller. Or maybe I'd just outgrown the need to be swallowed by it. When we stepped inside, my mom met us at the door with that same warm yet anxious energy she always had before guests came. But her eyes didn't scan for Claire, or anyone else, just me and Eliza. Dinner was quiet in the best way. No big speeches, no awkward silences. Just laughter over too dry stuffing and bad gravy jokes. Dad asked Eliza if she liked football. She said no, but she liked stadium nachos. He took that as a challenge to make his own next time. Later, while Eliza and Mom debated pie crusts, Dad and I ended up on the back porch. It was colder than expected. The sky a flat silver. Leaves clumped in the corner of the steps like no one had bothered with the rake lately. We stood there a while, neither of us rushing to talk. Then he said it. "I didn't realize how much I used you to fix things I couldn't fix myself." I looked at him. He wasn't fishing for forgiveness, just naming it. "I'm not angry anymore," I said. "Good," he nodded. "I'm still embarrassed." "That's okay," I said. "I think you should be, for a while." He smiled, just a little. "Fair." Before we left, Mom handed me a box. She said it was just old photos, ones they didn't want to keep but thought I might want to see. I almost left it in the car overnight. But curiosity wins sometimes. Back at my apartment, Eliza went to shower and I opened the box. Most of it was harmless. Baby pictures, Halloween disasters, a Polaroid of me holding a lizard with Drew screaming in the background. But at the bottom was a sealed envelope. My name on the front. I opened it. It was a picture. From that Thanksgiving. That one. Me and Claire, side by side. But not the original my dad had framed. This was a candid, taken just before things fell apart. My face half turned, her eyes somewhere else. A snapshot of something fractured pretending to hold shape. On the back, in Mom's handwriting, Letting go doesn't mean deleting the past. It means making room for what's next. I set it on the counter and left it there, not in a drawer, not in the trash, just there, seen, known, no longer needed. That night, Eliza curled into me on the couch. We watched the same movie Claire and I once fell asleep during, and it felt nothing like before, not better or worse, just honest. A week before the next Thanksgiving, my dad texted me, "No assigned seats this year. Promise. Bring whoever makes you feel like yourself." I replied, "Looking forward to it." And I meant it. Because healing isn't the absence of pain. It's the moment you walk into a room that used to choke you and breathe without flinching. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.